Hi guys, welcome to today's MCQ discussion. MCQ discussion number 11. We'll have a short discussion today. So the first question, a 1-year-old boy presents with history of 3 episodes of bloody diarrhea. The parents also give a history of eczema and recurrent lower respiratory tract infections. Investigations done reveal thrombocytopenia with small platelets. What is most likely to be deficient in him? A. IgE, B. IgM, C. IgG, and D. IgA. So pause, think, and then we'll discuss. So here what all do we see in this patient? Firstly, we see a patient with bloody diarrhea. Second, we see recurrent lower respiratory infections. And third thing we see is eczema. Okay. And on investigations, we saw that there is thrombocytopenia with small platelets. Now look at the image. So this is what eczema classically looks like. Okay, so there's a 1-year-old child who has eczema, who has recurrent episodes of LRTI, who has now presented with 3 episodes of bloody diarrhea. On investigations, he also had thrombocytopenia. So here we see 3 things which are classical. One is thrombocytopenia, second is recurrent infections, and third is eczema. So TIE, and this is a triad which is found in something called Wiskott-Aldrich syndrome. So thrombocytopenia with recurrent infections and eczema in a child should always make you suspect Wiskott-Aldrich syndrome. Now, the question was again not to diagnose the disease, but what is most likely to be deficient in him. So to know that, we should know a little about Wiskott-Aldrich syndrome. So let's talk about Wiskott-Aldrich syndrome. So Wiskott-Aldrich syndrome is a combined immunodeficiency. What does that mean? Normally, immunodeficiency can be either cellular immunodeficiency, where the T cells are affected, or humoral, where the antibodies are affected or the B cells are affected. So in Wiskott-Aldrich syndrome, remember it's a combined immunodeficiency, just like your SCID, and both T cell and B cell are affected. So it's a combined immunodeficiency, which is usually an X-linked recessive disorder. Okay, what does that mean? It's more common in males, and it is formed, or this condition is seen due to a defect in the WAS gene, which is nothing but a Wiskott-Aldrich syndrome gene. Okay. Now, the next is the most important part, the classical triad, the clinical presentation of Wiskott-Aldrich syndrome. You have a child who presents with TIE, thrombocytopenia, recurrent infections, and eczema, also called atopic dermatitis. So, thrombocytopenia, recurrent infections with atopic dermatitis should always make you suspect Wiskott-Aldrich syndrome. Once you suspect Wiskott-Aldrich syndrome, you send for blood investigations. Firstly, your routine will show thrombocytopenia, and your peripheral smear will show microthrombocytopenia. So these platelets are reduced and also smaller in size. Other than that, if you check for the antibody levels, you will find an increased IgE, okay, normal to usually increased IgA, and reduced IgG or IgM. Mostly IgG is normal, but it may be reduced. But definitely a very important feature is reduced IgM, making them prone to infections again and again. So remember 4 important investigations. Increased IgE, remember atopic dermatitis is atopy, so increased IgE, increased IgA, reduced IgM, and normal or reduced IgG, but mostly normal IgG. So let's review once more. It's a combined immunodeficiency, which is an X-linked disorder due to a defect in the WAS gene, presence with thrombocytopenia, recurrent infections, and atopic dermatitis. On investigations, we will find microthrombocytopenia, increased IgE, increased IgA, reduced IgM. Okay, a few trivia about this. The cellular reason for this is due to an actin filament defect or a cell cytoskeleton defect. WAS gene codes for a protein called WAS protein, which is required for the normal functioning of the cellular cytoskeleton, which is required for normal cellular motion. That is affected. So phagocytosis and many other cellular processes are inhibited, and therefore you have this disease. And also remember, infections seen in this disease are usually of capsulated organisms. So we know the common capsulated organisms, Streptococcus pneumoniae, Haemophilus, and most of them cause pneumonia. So the most common clinical infection seen in these conditions or seen in these patients is pneumonia. Now let's go back to the question. Firstly, why bloody diarrhea? Remember, thrombocytopenia can sometimes present, especially in children, as bloody diarrhea. Then we saw eczema, LRTI, and thrombocytopenia, classical tie of Wiskott-Aldrich syndrome, right? So remember that mnemonic very well. we saw eczema in the photo. Now, we discussed about the investigations. So what happens to IgE? Remember, IgE is increased. What happens to IgM? IgM is decreased. What happens to IgG? Maybe normal or maybe sometimes decreased. And what happens to IgA? It's definitely increased. So remember, here the question was, what is most likely to be deficient? Most likely to be deficient, and it is IgM. I told you IgM is always deficient in Wiskott-Aldrich syndrome. So answer is B, IgM. Let's move to the next question. Another very high yield question. Coral pink fluorescence is seen in Woods lamp examination where A. erysipeloid, B. erythrasma, C. porphyrias, or D. eczema. Okay, so very high yield. I hope you thought about it. The answer is B, erythrasma. Just a fact-based question, but a very high yield fact, and that's why I'm talking about it. So let's talk a little about Woods lamp examination, frequently asked question from dermatology. So Woods lamp examination is also called backlight examination. And what is the physics here? There is a mercury vapor UV lamp covered by a Woods filter. So you have a mercury Venus lamp which is covered by a Woods filter, and this Woods filter, or the filter for this light, is a barium silicate and nitric oxide filter. So this filter is made of barium silicate and nickel oxide. Sorry for those mistakes. Barium silicate and nickel oxide. Remember, it contains 9% nickel oxide, rest is barium silicate. And this Woods lamp or this light emits UV rays of 360 nanometer. Okay, those are UVA rays. So remember, it is a UV or ultraviolet light emitting apparatus which contains a mercury core and a barium sulfate and nickel filter. Okay, and now we'll get to the most high yield and most important thing, different fluorescence seen in Woods lamp. So normally in this examination, you put this lamp over skin and you see classical fluorescences associated with classical diseases. So firstly, what happens in tinea capitis? So remember, from micro, tinea capitis is usually caused by either microspora or trichophyton. In case of microspora, you'll see a blue-green fluorescence. In case of trichophyton, you'll see a dull blue or a pale green fluorescence. Second thing, erythrasma. The question was erythrasma. It's caused by the Corynebacterium. And remember, you see a coral pink or a coral red fluorescence in erythrasma. Third thing is pityriasis versicolor, which is caused by Malassezia furfur. And you see a yellowish white fluorescence in pityriasis versicolor. Pseudomonas, everywhere is green. So remember, here also Pseudomonas gives a green fluorescence. And porphyrias are associated with blood. So you can remember, it gives a red color fluorescence. Okay, so these are the important questions from Woods lamp. Remember, vitiligo is white, so it also gives a white fluorescence. So you can also remember another additional one, vitiligo. Now let's look at the photo. So here you can see tinea capitis gives a bluish green fluorescence, and that is due to the pteridine substance. Pityriasis versicolor gives a yellowish white color. Okay, not so visible here, but it is yellowish white. Erythrasma, what we discussed about, is coral. You have seen corals in the sea, so you give a coral pink color. Sometimes they even say coral red, and that color or that characteristic color is due to the presence of coproporphyrins. And lastly, in Pseudomonas, you will see a greenish color. You can see a few greenish patches here. So greenish color in Pseudomonas, and that is due to presence of pyoverdin and pyocyanin. Again, two important pigments you should know about with regard to Pseudomonas is pyoverdin and pyocyanin. So that was the second question about Woods lamp and the important fluorescences seen in Woods lamp. Let's go to the third question for today. The malignancy shown below arises from which cell in the CNS? A. Ependymal cell, B. Astrocytes, C. Schwann cells, and D. Oligodendrocytes. Okay, so this question is a very high yield question, and this image is a very high yield image. And in fact, from this topic, the only question being asked is regarding this image, and I'll tell you why a little later. Now let's talk about important cells of the CNS and the tumors associated with them. So remember, your central nervous system is made of 50% neurons and 50% of neuroglia, which are the supporting cells. So remember, the only important tumor that arises from neurons is the medulloblastoma, which is a primitive neuroectodermal tumor, and that tumor is seen in children. Okay, so that's the only neuronal origin tumor. Now, among neuroglia, which are the neuroglia? Firstly, you have the astrocytes, which are star-shaped cells which form the blood-brain barrier. Then you have the oligodendrocytes. These are the cells responsible for myelination of the neurons of the central nervous system. Then you have the ependymal cells, okay, and these are the cells that line the ventricles. Remember, ventricles are CSF filled spaces in the brain, and these cavities are lined by something called ependymal cells. And lastly, you also have a meningothelial cells. So astrocytoma gives rise to two important malignancies you should remember. One is the pilocytic astrocytoma in children and a glioblastoma multiforme in adults. Oligodendrocytes give rise to oligodendrogliomas, okay, and ependymal cells give rise to ependymomas, okay, again seen in children. And meningothelial cells give rise to meningiomas. So this was a basic about the cells of the CNS and the tumors associated with them. So the question here is, firstly, we have to identify which tumor this is, and secondly, we have to know the origin cell of that tumor. So let's look at this. So this appearance seen on microscopic is nothing but your classical fried egg appearance. Okay, you can see these cells here. You have a large nucleus and you have a vacuolated whitish cytoplasm. So this looks like a fried egg. So you have fried egg cells. Okay, so fried egg appearance and fried egg cells are typical of oligodendrocytes or oligodendroglioma, and the malignancy of oligodendrocytes gives rise to oligodendroglioma. So which cell type does oligodendroglioma arise from? It is oligodendrocytes. So the answer is D, oligodendrocytes. Few words about oligodendroglioma before we conclude. It is a malignant tumor of the oligodendrocytes. It is a tumor which usually involves the frontal lobes and presents with seizures. Remember, any tumor involving the frontal lobes most likely presents with seizures. It is one of those tumors that shows calcification, and it is a tumor of the white matter. I told you oligodendrocytes form the white matter or are responsible for myelination in the CNS. Therefore, they'll obviously be found in the white matter. Very important. HPE, remember the first thing, fried egg appearance of cells, which I showed you here, right? Fried egg appearance of cell. And the second thing you should know, the capillary show chicken wire fence pattern. Not so classical in this image, but it will look somewhat like this. So remember two things in HP: fried egg appearance of cells and chicken wire pattern of capillaries. So remember, for oligodendroglioma, all you need to remember is an egg. Okay, all you need to remember is an egg, and I'll tell you how. So firstly, the egg is calcified on the outside. So remember, oligodendroglioma shows calcification. Secondly, the egg has white matter on the inside. Okay, this is an egg which I have drawn here. So egg has white matter on the inside. So oligodendroglioma is commonly found in white matter. Third thing, when you break the egg, you get this appearance and you can fry it. So fried egg appearance on HPE. And lastly, a chicken lays the egg. So chicken wire pattern of capillaries is seen in HPE. So that was about oligodendrocytes and oligodendroglioma. And remember, it is a tumor of adults. Okay, this tumor is usually seen in adults. Therefore, like all adult tumors, it is a supratentorial tumor. Okay, so that is another important point you need to know regarding oligodendroglioma and this tumor. So that was it for today's discussion. Thank you. We'll see you guys tomorrow.